The Artifacts of Mount Independence and the Stories They Tell. A series of brief explorations of Revolutionary War artifacts from Mount Independence on Lake Champlain in Orwell, Vermont.
I'm Mike Barbieri. I'm a volunteer here at the Mount Independence State Historic Site in Orwell, Vermont. And today we're going to look at some artifacts found here on the Mount that are concerned with cooking and food. So the most obvious ones that you can see in front of me are these big chunks of iron pots. They're cast iron, and this would have been pots of varying sizes that the soldiers would have cooked in. And these are pieces of pots that have been found here. You will note here this ridge along here. It's you'll see it on this piece as well. And they're just, part of the casting process. They add a little bit of strength to the side of the pot. Here's another one, and if you're geometrically challenged, you probably have some problem with them, but you can look and you can see this is kind of flat and then it starts to curve up. So this is probably closer to the bottom of the pot in this case. This one has got a couple interesting points about it. One, it still has one of the legs. These would have had 3 legs in it, and it would have sat something like this. Would have allowed you not just to hang the thing from over the fire. You got the ears here. You would have had a bail come up and across so that you could hang it over the fire. But with a leg on it, you can set it down in the coals. And incidentally, you don't cook over the fire. You cook over the coals. You burn the fire and then rake coals out to the side and cook over that. You'll see the side here, the ear that goes around. What's kind of interesting about this one is a couple of holes. This hole right here, this little piece of lead fell out of this hole. So this was used to plug this hole. There's another one of them right there that I know you probably can't see, but this pot was apparently repaired at a couple of points. And incidentally, as long as you kept something in this pot, something liquid, this lead would not melt and fall out on you. So, if you put it just empty over a hot fire, yeah, the lead would melt and it'd go away. The next large unit here is this long 2-tined fork. Nice little hook on the end here for hanging it. This is called a flesh fork. And this would be used to, guess what? To jab and to move pieces of meat around as you're cooking it. So this is pretty neat. You don't find these very often at sites. So this was kind of special find here. One other thing here. This little bottle over on this side. A number of bottles have been found here, pieces. Green glass shards all over the mount, everywhere. And in this particular case, probably 80% of the bottle, 75–80% of the bottle was found and was able to put it back together, reassemble it. So it's pretty neat to find some of these things like this, and you kind of always wonder, who was it that had this thing? How did he break it? Because that was, it's a pretty valuable possession, a bottle like that. Some of the personal little utensils. This is a knife right here, and you can just see these little bumps right here. So that would have been the end of the handle. So this would have been the knife blade here with a handle off it, you know, whether it was bone or wood, would have been on that end of that piece. Another knife here. It actually has sort of remnants of the handle on it. You can see here, there's rivets coming through and bits and pieces here of the handle, and then there's one solid piece of metal coming through that's the blade part of it. This is a really interesting piece here. This is the handle of a spoon. It's bent. The spoon part is broken off, and I'm willing to bet that this handle was broken off deliberately. Because if you're a soldier and you're on the move, you take this spoon and the bowl part of it, it's kind of clunky to carry around with you. So it was pretty common to cut or break off the handle part, so you just left with the bowl piece. That's a lot easier to carry, and you can still eat with it. There's been handles of spoons found in several 18th century Revolutionary War sites. So it's not just here. What's kind of unique about this is this has a bunch of engraving on the handle. It has DH, the initials DH, here and here, and then it has a triangular or a, well, kind of arrowhead point stamped in here, you know, with a little crisscross pattern right here. And a similar kind of arrangement like that shows up on a couple of maps, or on powder horns rather. So who knows, maybe this spoon handle is connected with one of the powder horns that's been in the area. And, oh, lastly, well, not next to lastly here, very delicate knife here. What's really nice about this, there's some of the wooden handle left on it. It's pretty delicate, so we're not taking it out of the bag, but it is pretty special because it does have some of the wood left on it. And lastly, we have a fork. Now this is a 3-tine fork. These are the tines, the points, and it's, you know, 2 1/3 tines. This one's broken off. Whether this is 18th century or not, I don't know. I tend to think not, because I haven't seen an 18th century fork that has a complete metal handle to it. This is all cast as one piece, and this being metal. However, what this says to me is that things were happening on the Mount after the Revolution. It's possible that somebody came over here to have a picnic, and there are mentions in newspapers, 19th and even the 20th century newspapers, of families and organizations coming to Mount Independence to have a picnic. So this may have been dropped during one of those exercises, one of those gatherings. So at this point, that's all I have on this table, and I guess we're going to move on to look at a couple of items that are in display cases. Hi, we're back. We're out on the exhibit floor of the museum right now, looking at a number of items that are on display. In the upper left, we have your typical knife blade, you know, if you want to call it a butter knife, but that's pretty typical with that button end out on the, you know, at the end of the blade. The handle is missing on this particular one. Next to it, we have the more typical 2-tine fork. And by the way, forks were not used really to eat with. They were used more to hold your food in place while you cut it with a knife and you ate with the knife or a spoon even. Then we have some smaller saucers and cups. You know, these a little bit finer, might have belonged to an officer. Hard to tell for sure. Cover of a little vessel, which is really pretty because it has a nice little floral motif on it. And then we have a plate that was found in a cabin here in the hut site. And actually the plate was not just dropped in the hut site. I happened to be working in the pit next to this one when this was found, and it was actually a string of shards strung out across probably maybe along 15, 20 feet. It looked as though somebody took the plate and threw it across the ground, and it shattered as it spun out and went across the ground. So most of the plate was found, and it was able to be reassembled, and which is pretty interesting. So that's all we have right now for food. Thank you.